we've heard if done right, social media can spark big things. Oh no. We've talked about the Arab Spring, and we've talked about what's happening on Wall Street and here in St. Louis. But social media can influence more than just political uprisings. It can integrate old brands and spark a consumer revolution. Chris Reimer, the Rizzo Teas guy, is going to be taking this session, calling it the accelerant.
Yes. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm VP of Social Media at Falk Harrison here in town. I won an award from the RFT for being the best Twitter in St. Louis, beating out Nelly and Mayor Slay, which is kind of weird. There's a STL Index website that I think Brad's going to talk about next that I've been ranked #1 on for 2 years. I run a t-shirt company out of my basement that's slowly getting less and less of my time because I really enjoy my job at Falk Harrison. And I was a CFO for 10 years and a CPA for 15 years until the year 2010. And I usually explain how that happened and how I made the switch, but I'm not going to do that today. But if you want to hear afterwards, it's kind of an interesting story. I am going to provide a real-life example of social media in action, something that we lived through at Falk Harrison. As you can surmise, when Derek emailed me, he said, no theory, BS, and he literally used all caps, so he was very serious about that. He didn't want me to just kind of talk about fluffy theory. He wanted some real-life examples and some real-life tactics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to help you in a particular area of social media that I think most companies and perhaps some of you are not doing as well as you could. So social media, I always say that social media starts small little fires, but what's the gas that you have to pour onto that to get it to take off? You know, we'll get asked a lot of times, oh, can you make us a viral video for YouTube? It's like, no, definitely not. What is the accelerant, in your opinion, that would get a small fire to grow out of control online? And as I say here, it's definitely not being famous, because I don't think any of us are famous in here. We can't just tweet like Bieber or Lady Gaga and make something happen. My talk is about the word engagement. I'm sure most of you have probably heard the term, and I think for some of you it's probably what we'll call a tired buzzword. In fact, famous blogger Chris Brogan this week on his website wrote a post, and he called it one of several buzzwords that we should be using less often. So I guess the question is, why am I up here? Why did I think I should come and talk to you guys about this today? And so the answer is that I feel, and I'll ask you guys what you think, I mean, how many companies do you think are really doing engagement extremely well? My take on it is there's not as many as there should be. And I think here in St. Louis and in the Midwest, it might be even a little bit worse than maybe it is on the coast. But then beyond that, how many companies that have people here today, how many of you do you think? I mean, this group, maybe we're doing pretty well. We are at Get Digital after all, and you guys, paid to be here. But how many people in this room do you think are doing it really, really well? How many people are really taking the time to do this well? One thing that I was really, really careful about when I was trying to put this presentation together was I didn't want anyone tweeting out, and now it'll probably happen, but there was very little that I found new at that conference. I saw that at a conference last week. I saw a few people tweeting that. They just sat there, and I suppose they thought they knew it all, and so they didn't learn anything new at it. So I basically am going to call shenanigans on this and say that this is something that while you may have heard of it before and you may think that you're doing it well, or maybe you're not using social media for your company, which means you're definitely not doing it well, it's worthy of having yet one more presentation about it, and that's why I'm talking about it. So the example that I'm going to use to illuminate this is Pratzel's Bakery. Raise your hand if you've heard of Pratzel's Bakery or heard about what we did. Well, that's not bad. It's less than half maybe. They were a nearly 100-year-old bakery here in St. Louis, kosher bakery, third generation. Unfortunately, the children didn't want to take it over, and no one wanted to buy it, and so it shut down. That's a real fast version of it. At Falk Harrison, we were customers, and we brought their baked goods in for our meetings and stuff like that. We wondered if enough St. Louisans had really heard that it was for sale, heard about the plight of it, and so we started what we call a campaign. I typically hate the word campaign for social media because social media is not something that has an end date. Please keep that in mind. This one, you'll see at the end, may have had an end date. So the day after it closed, the very day after it closed, Steve Hartman, Creativeville, our creative director, sent this tweet out. And Two things. One, I always say I have no idea why he tried to rope Mayor Slay into our mayhem, but he did. The mayor's a really nice guy, a good friend, but I'm not sure why we tried to shame him into helping us. And two, I told Steve that he probably should have talked to me about this before sending the tweet, because I was the one that was going to be providing all the services. But about 5 seconds after he sent the tweet, I said, that's actually a really good idea. Maybe we could make something happen here. So our goal with it was basically what I always call maximum visibility and awareness times infinity. I wanted as many people in St. Louis, hell, I wanted anyone in the country to know that this place was for sale. We just felt like enough people hadn't heard that this place that had actually printed business cards that said 100th anniversary 2 years previous, they really wanted to get there. That we wanted them to know that this place was for sale. So, and of course, the desired result was we wanted someone to buy the place and reopen it. So after that tweet, and some of the other presenters talked about this, and I really want to impress upon this, there's like maybe 2 things I want you to take away if you can remember, and this is one of them. It would never have worked as a Twitter campaign. It would have never worked as a Facebook campaign. This had to live somewhere central. And we did it with a blog post. You heard Jen talk about blogging a lot. On your websites, your corporate websites, you're going to have all this really interesting information about, your company and what you sell and how great you are. But a lot of today's site visitors are literally going to be scanning your page looking for the word blog. They want to go to it to see what you're thinking today. So just a little bit of corporate advice. Here, we just put it on the blog because there was no other good place to put it. But as I say here, engagement can happen on Twitter, it can happen on Facebook. If you're crazy, you can even do it on LinkedIn if you want. But honestly, it all had to come back to the blog post. And the cool thing about it is, again, I think someone alluded to it earlier, your blog is your property. It's never going to get bought by Facebook and closed down. It's your property, and you can do with it what you want. You can say things that take more than 140 characters. You can embed a video, multiple videos. You can do whatever you want with your blog. It is extremely versatile, so it's a great place to house information like this. And as I say, it's your property, so consider it Grand Central. So after we got this blog post written, we used our own social media platforms to start tweeting about it, to send people into the blog to read about it. I also, and this is a real interesting tip, so I direct message people, and so on Twitter, that's a private message that no one can see except you and the person. And I ask people to pay attention to this for me. So as I say here, I cashed in some social currency. I tweet a lot if you know who I am, and so I've probably tweeted about your stuff, and you've definitely tweeted about my stuff. I thank you so much. But I just got with people and said, I need your help with this. So I don't do that with everything that I do online, but in this case, I felt like it was really, really important. So they started retweeting about it. So that's something that we don't always talk about. It just looks, oh, what a great campaign. I mean, I asked for help, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and it helped a lot. So what happened afterwards? This is when the fire really began. I cannot impress upon you how crazy this day and these 2 days were, just from a content and attention standpoint. Once we put this out, it just started catching on fire, almost literally. So tweets started rolling in. We responded to them. As I say here, it's a big to-do, all of them. Some people are worried. They don't want to respond to every tweet because they think their tweet stream is going to look all spammy. Most of your followers aren't going to see those @replies saying thanks unless they actually visit your Twitter page. Most people are going to be hanging out on their own Twitter.com front page. They're not going to see all those. They'll see some of them, and I won't go into why, but they're not going to see all of them. So it's totally cool to say thank you to people. If you were the owner of this bakery and people started coming in, you'd say thanks to everyone that walked through the door. That would not get old. It doesn't get old on Twitter either. So people retweeted us, and we thanked them for that. We thanked most of them, and I literally say most because it got a little crazy. It was hard to keep up with all of them. But then we started using this hashtag called Save Pratzels, and that kind of, as hashtags do, grouped all of the frenzy into one particular place. if you guys are lighting up Twitter right now and you're putting Get Digital in, there's people that aren't here that are following it. That's what happened here, and it really, it may do with this conference, it got people to pay attention to what was going on. They kind of perked their ears up a little bit. And Facebook wall posts, we liked and responded as much as we can. But I guess the question really is, well, how much engagement is enough, And basically, it's as much as it takes is what I would say. I had this client ask me recently, he said, well, okay, so we're going to start a Twitter page. What's going to happen what if 250 people tweet at our CEO, you're going to help us create this account and help us, with what to say. What happens if 250 people tweet us? I said, man, that would be awesome. What? I don't see the problem here. You're probably seeing a problem with time. I'm seeing this is exactly what you want to happen when you start using social media, is you want people to pay attention. So, what if you put a new product out and 250 people called your 800 number to order it? You'd answer all 250 calls. Okay? So you should try to answer all those tweets. It doesn't mean that, Bieber and Lady Gaga or whatever other goofballs are using Twitter and have 1 million followers. It doesn't mean they say thanks to everyone. In fact, some of them don't say thanks to anyone. They don't have to. They're famous. But, we need to work hard at this because we're trying to create something out of nothing. So you have to say thanks or respond or answer people's questions. If there's 250 people, try to say as much as you can to all of them. This is going to be kind of hard to see, but the next thing we did, when people left us blog comments, we responded. And I just put a few examples up here. So what ended up happening with the Pratzels thing was people started offering free help in addition to what we were going to give them. In addition to what we were going to give them, which was the 1 year of free social media services. So this was actually the very first offer. It's our friend from NJC Printing who says he's going to give $1,000 of printing services. So again, I'm like, that's awesome, thank you. Okay, please note the times on this. So he left the comment at 2:28, and I responded 6 minutes later. So this is the next thing I want you guys to take away from it, is the speed, okay? Respond as quickly as you can. Would you be interested in having the phone ring 10 times if you called a service business? You would not. That would suck. So you need to do this. Now, I'm kind of crazy on the computer, so make it 15 minutes. I mean, the point is that when these things start coming in, especially when they're offering you something, these people are literally offering to help this as of yet unopened business with stuff. So here again, 8 minutes later, is that 8? I used to be a CPA, I should be able to do this. 5 minutes later, so, and so I'm sitting there and I'm responding to these things as fast as I can. And like I said, these days, or it was one particular day that was just absolutely insane as far as just the amount of attention and tweets and things like that. I mean, it was so crazy that I skipped lunch. And I mean, I love lunch. So it was really, that was a weird thing. So, and the next thing we did with the blog was we updated it. So as Dave O'Leary offers a website service from his company, I went into the blog and I started creating this list of the extra services. So I'd update it, I'd hit publish so the blog was updated, and it gave me another chance then to reach out and touch the audience. I mean, if I hadn't changed anything on the blog, it would be really weird to tweet it out every 15 minutes. But as these offers poured in, it gave us an excuse to touch the audience one more time. So here's our creative director just saying, hey, this guy's offering imaging services, can you add it to the blog? And I added it up right away. And so I did over 30 such updates over 5 days, and most of them were in those first 2 days. So I'm just in the back end of WordPress updating this thing, get it updated, publish, grab the link, tweet it back out, and I would just start the tweet with something like crazy update number 10 or whatever, and I'd give the information out, and of course that caused more people to take notice, and it caused more companies to give. So you can kind of see how this engagement's like when kids jump in the pool and they start going around it because they want to make a whirlpool. You can see how once we started getting moving in the pool a little bit, that water started going faster and faster. Okay, this is a really, really big point, so I'm going to get all dramatic right here. Okay, respond to media inquiries. Repeat. When the media calls, drop everything and take care of it. In fact, And then maybe you work in the media. But listen, and you want to prepare your boss for this. You literally want to say, look, when they call, I'm going to have to get up. So when you're in a meeting and the Business Journal calls or someone calls, say, sorry, ma'am, I have to go and handle this. Go handle it. One last time. When Deb Peterson from the Post-Dispatch calls and she wants to write a story and it is not about a salacious love affair you're having, take the call. We got into her column for this, which lots of people read her column. And, it wasn't something bad that I'd done, which was awesome. And here's Robin from the RFT writing. At the end, she's like, can you answer a few questions for me? I'd really appreciate it. I'm like, you would appreciate it? We would appreciate it. Thank you. Keep in mind that, not to take a dig at PR, but this is not PR we are doing. This is what I would call reverse PR. Just did lots of crazy stuff and the fire started and then I was like, geez, it's hot. We need to do a story on this. So I didn't ask for this attention, but she offered it. So media attention absolutely matters if you can get it, if you can do cool enough things in order to get it. So here's, a lot of the different stuff, little plug for the Business Journal there on the lower right. But lots of different people wrote about it. Even competing marketing agencies wrote about it, which was incredibly touching. Okay, so respond to emails also. And again, you're like, oh, come on, man, we know how to do this. Respond to all the emails that people send. Here's someone sending something and they want to offer some help, and I responded 14 minutes later. And then I offered to, how do you want me to mention you on the website? So just trying to help them as much as I can because they want to help us. I also had 70-year-old Jewish ladies writing me saying, is this really going to happen? Is it really going to reopen? And I would write back. And say, we're trying. And they would ask for help. They would ask for information on, I'm like, we're not the person trying to sell it. Call so-and-so. Incidentally, by this point, we never asked for permission to do this either. We never said, hey, Mr. Pratzel, we know you closed down. And I'm really hoping you're not on a plane to Florida, because you're ready to retire because we're trying to get your place reopened. Eventually we did call him and he was cool with it. But yeah, after a while, finally when Sauce Magazine wrote and said, we want to put an ad in the paper, I'm like, we really need to get some permission now because this is getting a little weird. They need to bless the creative that we're about to put out. So, and again, trying to get, a small fire to turn big, if someone calls you, answer the phone. So I'm like, yeah, I actually did make a slide about this. But seriously, if Deb Peterson decides to call you, check your voicemail. Don't hide behind your voicemail. If you're trying to make something small grow big, you're going to have to listen to all forms of communication, including something that I actually hate using, which is the phone. My wife doesn't understand, and I'm like, I really need to figure that out, because when she calls, I'm like, I don't really want to talk. I hate talking on the phone. But if someone important calls and they're trying to help you, answer the phone. So basically the takeaway is that integration of marketing efforts is very key, but completeness of response is absolutely critical. So as I say here, you cannot just say, and I'm not really a big fan of Facebook. I'm starting to like it. I used to just kind of tolerate it. But for purposes of this, you cannot just say, well, I'm not really much of a Facebook person. Well, today you are. If you want to get big things done using social media, and you want to draw the attention of the media instead of having to say, does anyone know anyone at the Business Journal? You're going to have to use all the forms. So I asked the question here, how do we communicate? So in the old days, it was like that telephone that I'm not a really big fan of anymore, or maybe we wrote letters. I forgot to put the telegraph up here. That's really old. But here's how we do it today. I mean, look at this list. It's absolutely crazy. And I received one touch, I guess, with this campaign. On every one of those, all 17 of them, someone reached out to me. I mean, can you imagine what it's like trying to check your voicemail? Someone comes in a Facebook chat, a G chat comes in, I get a text message, and my phone didn't even know what to do. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. So all of these methods are ways that people can get with you. I mean, can you keep up? You're going to have to try, I guess is my advice. You're going to have to try. So, and I am sure that at some point during this, I didn't get back to someone. And for that, I feel bad. And I guess the question is, does this make things harder? on us as business people, as PR people, as journalists, if you're trying to find a story, at first glance you would think, yes, I contend that it makes things better. It makes things better that we have all of these awesome communication tools and that people can get with us at the point when they want to get with us the most. And other people said it, but I'm going to repeat it. Let your customers, let your stakeholders, whatever the case may be, let them communicate with you on their terms. I've had clients say, well, we really don't want people to get with us on Facebook. Can we just put a note on Facebook that says, we don't really check this page? I'm like, thank you for hiring us because we're going to help you out with all that. So with regard to the particular campaign where the goals met, and we were able to measure unbelievable impressions and all this stuff. There were hundreds of interactions, and when I say interactions, I mean tweets and retweets and tweets back at us and conversations and all this. 24 local businesses joined the cause, and what was so cool is we added them to the blog each time, and of course they appreciated that. It just further drew us all in together into this big quest or cause or whatever the case may be. Who's crying over there? And we got prominent news articles and radio appearances within days of the campaign. That was so cool. It was we started on Monday, and by Thursday, I was on the Mason and Remy show, and those guys are cool. I'm not even a fan of country music, but it was really fun to be on their show. So it happened incredibly quickly. I was even kind of surprised. But I keep hitting the wrong one. So one funny side effect of it too was, and here's where Erin Steinbrugge should have been here because I actually plug her, but one funny side effect is now people think that we're the restaurant savers at Falk Harrison. So the Fatty Calf, which has awesome burgers in Clayton, they put this sign up on their door that says, we will be closing our doors June 30th, 2011 if business doesn't increase dramatically. So another pro tip, it's not really a good idea to threaten your customers like that. It's a little bit weird. But nevertheless, their burgers are awesome and they stayed open. But so, this is Aaron sending a tweet out. I'm like, no. It is not a job for Rizzo Teeth. I'm retiring from the restaurant saver business. And then Beffa's closed, and they're like, someone say Beffa's. I'm like, yeah, someone, not me. But the final result was that Pratzel's was purchased by someone that had heard about the fact that it was for sale, and they saw the outpouring of support, and it was the tipping point for them. So the guy that bought it was from a Jewish family, and he had 12 of his best Jewish friends basically really wanting him to reopen this. And what he told me was, he said, when we saw your blog and we saw all this stuff and we saw all this newspaper stuff, and it made us think that, maybe this was just bigger than something that my 12 best friends wanted me to reopen. He had said that also that the blog was a really nice compendium of all the history of the place. To him, it made it seem like it would be something that would be, it wouldn't be starting it from scratch, basically, that there was a lot of history and heritage and recipes, and Ronnie Pratzel was going to stay to help him out. And he said that the blog, it helped him make the decision. Obviously, he's the one that did the heavy lifting by whipping out his checkbook and buying it. So just real quick, also, engagement doesn't take a vacation. So when we found out, so what happened was it got purchased, and then he hired this PR person, and she was kind of coordinating the good news and all this. So we couldn't just say, we were dying to let the news out, dying to create that next blog post that talked about how it had succeeded and all that. And she's like, well, just hold on until we get our ducks in a row or whatever. So by the time the ducks were in a row, I was literally right there, which is Animal Kingdom down at Disney World. And so on the day that the big announcement went out, I was on safari at Animal Kingdom with 3G coverage, tweeting it. And my wife's like, check out that big animal. I'm like, I'm busy. I'm tweeting about, I've seen all these animals before on TV. So, so it didn't take a break, and I was really thrilled that AT&T provided coverage out there in the outback or whatever. And we tweeted about it. We just tweeted about it so much, and it just, engagement doesn't take a vacation, unfortunately. But so here's what happened. So Pratzel's has reopened its wholesale division, and they are in a few retail stores. His original plan was to open up a retail store in the actual factory, which is in Dealman Industrial in Olivet. And I can tell you that the place needed a lot of scrubbing, so he was really trying to get it cleaned up. He was gonna have this cool glass window where you could come and take a tour, and I'm not sure any of that's happened yet. I do know that they got into Straub's, and I think they got into Whole Foods. But here's why I don't know exactly what happened. The last part of the story is that we haven't done any work for him yet. And this happened back in January, February, March. We have not done any social media work for them yet at all. And I'm not like, this is not like spill milk, sour grapes, whatever the term is. They're going this PR route. I think he got into a situation, he was a documentary filmmaker, and he retires to start this bakery. And like I said, that place needed a lot of work, physically needed a lot of work. But we called him and all this stuff and just trying to get a hold of him, and we actually worked pretty close by. He even brought the upside down cupcakes that they're famous for. He brought the first batch over. So it wasn't like he didn't like us or we had somehow offended him or anything, but it's like, literally it's like $15,000 worth of social media services from whatever stupid name people call me. And it just didn't happen. So why not? I don't know, but it makes me very sad. This is me very upset about this. They dropped the engagement ball. They just dropped it. They're busy. They're busy doing other things. I'm trying to run a business, Chris. I'm really busy. They dropped the engagement ball. There were a whole lot of St. Louisans that were very interested in going to the first tweet up there. There were a lot of St. Louisans that were very interested in this. I still get asked all the time, like, I think they're open, I don't know. The engagement ball was just simply dropped, and for me, that's unfortunate and sad. I was very excited to do the work. I was very excited for St. Louis. I was just very excited about having helped achieve something, and then it just kind of was like stillborn. So I was kind of bummed out about that. But my final word, though, is this. If you guys are going to do social media, I want you to go all in. I want you to put everything you have into it, all of your effort. Just try, okay? Now, what you see up there, you might think, wow, Chris, you're like a big jerk to these people. Okay, we're trying to do a Christmas campaign at Falk Harrison. And so I did a Facebook wall post on this really nice charity. And I said, do you accept the donation of goods? I mean, we did one of these at Falk Harrison last year and collected 2,300 pounds of shoes, which when sold helped drill a well in Africa. We're ready to do something again, but we want to do it locally. And if you'll notice the date, 2 weeks later, they wrote back. All I care about is that hopefully this gets dragged to a board meeting and gets put on a table and said, what in the hell are we doing here, people? We can't get back to someone it takes 2 weeks to get back to them, and they want to give us stuff? It's just not good enough. It is just not good enough. So if you're going to use social media, just try your hardest and go all in. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Good job.